while stitching a unit patch onto a new uniform I had not earned yet. My squad leader stopped me and said, "That is not yours to wear." I'd found the patch in the bottom of a supply bin 3 weeks into my first duty station. It was the 75th Ranger Regiment scroll, black and gold, perfect condition, no name on it. I assumed it was lost property. I set it aside thinking I'd turn it in, and then I didn't. And then enough days passed. The night before my first unit inspection, I started sewing it onto my ACU jacket. I wasn't trying to claim anything. That's what I told myself. I was just keeping it safe. Maybe I'd find the owner eventually. I had the needle halfway through the backing when the door opened. Staff Sergeant Cole didn't knock. Nobody knocked. He came in to check my bunk layout and he stopped 3 steps inside the room. "That is not yours to wear." His voice was quiet, which was worse than yelling. He walked over and looked at the patch and then looked at me, and I opened my mouth to explain about the supply bin. "Don't." He held up a hand. "I don't want to hear the story. Where did you get that?" "Supply room, Staff Sergeant. I found it. I was going to turn it in. 3 weeks ago?" I didn't answer. He picked up the jacket and turned it over in his hands. "You know what it takes to earn this." It wasn't a question. "Yes, Staff Sergeant." "Do you?" "Because I'm looking at a private who's been here 22 days and hasn't qualified expert on a single weapons system, and he's got his hands on a Ranger scroll." He set the jacket down on the bunk like it was fragile. "That tab represents selection. It represents men who bled to wear it. It represents guys who quit everything in their life and proved they could do something most people will never do." He looked at me. "You don't just find one and start sewing." I wanted to explain again about the supply bin, but I could see it didn't matter. "Who does it belong to?" he asked. "I don't know. There was no name." Cole stared at me a long time. Then he crossed his arms. "Give me your barracks number." "Room 14, Staff Sergeant." He left without another word. I spent the next hour staring at the unfinished jacket. I kept picking up the needle and setting it back down. By midnight, I'd convinced myself he was just going to confiscate the patch and write me up for something, maybe conduct, maybe making a false implication through possession. I didn't sleep. At 5 a.m., there was a knock on my door. Actual knock, not Cole this time. I opened it to a man I didn't recognize. Sergeant First Class. Older, hard face, the kind of weathered you only got from years of field rotations. He had the same scroll on his sleeve that I'd been holding last night. He looked at me for a second and then held out his hand. In his palm was the patch. "Cole called me." His voice was flat. "Said a private found my scroll in the supply bin." He paused. "I deployed with that unit in 2009. Lost it during an equipment transfer 2 months ago. Figured it was gone." He wasn't angry. That was the part I didn't expect. He just looked at the patch like it was a thing he'd stopped expecting to see again. "You were going to sew it onto your jacket," he said. "I was going to turn it in," I said. "I know that sounds." "Cole told me what you said." He folded his fingers back around the patch. "You been in 22 days. "Yes, Sergeant." He was quiet for a moment. "You know when I earned mine?" I didn't respond. He wasn't asking. "Day 47 of selection. Water phase. I was cold enough that I stopped feeling my hands. The guy next to me quit. Right next to me. Just sat down and said he was done." He looked at the scroll one more time, and I kept going. "He pocketed it. You earn yours the same way. No shortcuts." He turned and walked down the hall without looking back. I stood in the doorway watching him go, and that was the moment it landed. The patch had been in that supply bin for 2 months, and nobody had touched it, because everyone else in that building knew exactly what it meant. I was the only one